Welcome back, aliens. My name is Navin Reddy, and in this video, we'll talk about embeddings. Now, this is actually a very important topic in AI. So when you want to learn AI, how do we use AI features? And if you want to do AI engineering, this is important. Now, the question is why? See, the thing is, when you talk about AI, which generates some text for you, we call it as Gen AI. It can be for videos, images, or anything. Normally, when it generates certain things for you, it's because it has been trained. Now, every time you type a sentence, and we know whenever you type a sentence, it will guess the next word. Now, it exactly don't know what word you need, but basically it will work with the probability, which is the best suitable word next. And the way it works is basically it works with something called similarity. Or maybe if you want to do some classification. So let's say if you want to classify the emails, how will you do it? Maybe some emails are priority email, some emails are spam, some are promotions. So it works with something called semantic search or maybe similarity search. And to go there, we have to first understand what are embeddings. And even before we do that, I will take you to this particular page here. So this is a place you can check the URL on the top. Now, if you go here, you can plot your stuff. Again, I've done this plotting before making the video, so you don't have to worry about it. So basically what we have here on the screen is we have x-axis and y-axis. Imagine a world where you only have 2 dimensions. Of course, we have multiple dimensions in the real world, but let's say if you have 2 dimensions here and you want to plot some words there. Now, if you use a concept of embeddings and tokens, this is what you will get. How we got these values, we'll talk about it. But if you see, when you plot a smartphone, a computer, okay, by the way, I have not done this manually, okay? These are the values which I got is from the embedding algorithm. So smartphone, computer very nearby, laptop is also nearby, Java is here, software is here, puppy, dog, lion are nearby because that represents animal thing. We also have kitty and cat very nearby. And if you go down, we got Mars, Earth, planet. Then we got, I don't know why Python came here. Python should be somewhere here. Maybe it's going for the animal again. But you got the point, right? So what happens here is when you say certain things are similar, we have to make sure that those similar words are very close when you're plotting them. Again, we are only focusing on 2-dimensional here. So they are very close. And if you plot a new word here, example, if you put maybe Jupiter, that should come somewhere here. I'm just guessing, right? So this is how basically you put similar words together. Easy to classify, easy to generate new terms. Now, question arises, how will we get these numbers? How we got smartphone, and the value for smartphone, if you can see, should be here. So these are the coordinates for smartphone. Software, these are the coordinates. And again, just to reiterate, I have not done this manually. I got these values from the embedding models. So how this entire process works. Now, first of all, in the AI world, we don't have 2-dimensional plot. We have multi-dimensional. How much dimensions, we'll talk about it. But first thing which you do is you take the word or the sentence, then you find the words. And from those words, you convert that into tokens. That's how we talked about tokenization, but let's just to reiterate. So basically, whatever words you type, example here we got, my name is Navin Reddy, so that's the sentence. It will first break down this sentence into words, and then from words it will create tokens. If you see, we only have 5 words here, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, we only have 5 words, but the tokens are 7. Okay, and the token is my, then with space we got name, and then with space we got is, then with space we got nav, and then the next token is IN. So they are not putting that in the same token. And then we got ready, in which R is separate, and Eddie might be an English word. And that's why it went for 1 token. It depends upon the size of your context. It depends upon the vocabulary of your model. So the higher the vocabulary, it will generate more tokens. Example, if you switch to GPT-4, the token size might change. Okay, it's not changing in this case, but if I use a different sentence, maybe I will just use this. Let's take 5 extra words here. So you can see we got 14 tokens for this. So it's not changing much here, but normally it changes. Based on the model, the tokenization concept changes, and you will get different numbers there. And roughly if you see, 100 tokens is equal to 75 words, which is 1 token is 75% of the word, if you want to convert that way. Now, once you get this token, what happens is for your AI, it has to convert these tokens into a token ID. See, ultimately, AI works with numbers. So even if you convert words into tokens, it will still not be able to make a sense out of it. And that's why it will convert this thing into token IDs. So if you can see, the first word my has a token ID which is 5444, and the next word is this, the next word is this, and list goes on. I think this number is pretty big is because of the fourth token, 1, 2, 3, 4, nav, right? Nav is not a common thing, and that's why you can see it's very far. I think the same thing will be for this. After nav, we got 2 more. After nav, yeah, Eddie. You can see Eddie has a bigger number. So basically, all these IDs are predefined in your model, in your embedding models or tokenization model. So basically, you have all these IDs predefined, and every time you use a word, it will convert that into token and it will map it with that ID. It will not create a new ID for you. These IDs are there already. Example, if I use the word my multiple times, okay, this is different. This is basically your starting token, or maybe it is taking the space as well. Let's see. Yes, because of the space, If I keep a space here and if I see the ID, yeah, these are same. So all the same words will have the same IDs. Right, so if I say in, so you can see the same name will have same IDs. This 220 is for the space extra here. So if that makes sense. Now, once you got the token IDs, we have to convert these token IDs into a vector. So basically, you convert these IDs into vectors. Now, what should be the dimension of your vector? So here we have used only 2 dimension. But in real world, we have multiple dimensions. And to visualize that, if I take you to here, embedding, so basically, or maybe this embedding. So we are on Spring AI docs, where we're talking about embedding models. We got API here. So if you go down, or maybe let's learn here. So embeddings are numerical representation of a text, image, or videos that capture relationships between inputs. So whatever words you have, it will try to find the relationship between those words or images or videos, or maybe audio as well. And to convert your tokens into embeddings, we have to use something called an embedding model. Okay, this is different from the models which we have used. So those are LLM models. These are embedding models, different. Not every LLM model provides you embedding models. Okay, example, OpenAI provides you embedding model as well as the LLMs, but Anthropic, they don't have their own embedding model. If I want to show you that, let's go to Anthropic website, and we are on the embedding docs. And if you see, there's a sentence here. Yeah. So Anthropic does not offer its own embedding model, but one of the embedding model they promote is Wodge. How do I pronounce this? But this is the embedding model. Okay. And I wanted to use this for the example, but the problem is if you go back to Spring AI offers you all these embedding models. So they have a direct support for that, but not for Wodge. So in that case, we have to use something from here. Of course, you can use Wodge. That's we have a workaround, but I thought let's stick to the model which is provided. So we can use something called Mistral. I was using Mistral for a long time, so I thought let's continue with Mistral, and let's go to Mistral. So this is Mistral docs. So embeddings, they provide embeddings here, and you can read it. It's a good thing. I mean, it's a good documentation they provide, but if you go down, you can see they provide you 2 embedding models. One is for the text and one is for the code. And this is important. Okay, so for text, it's very simple, right? We tried here. These are normal text. But what happens when you work with a code? Something like this, public static void main. These are simple words, but if you use brackets and string, and if you type something like this, because in programming, we have to use curly brackets and all those stuff, maybe a semicolon here. Let's see how that interprets in the tokens. So everything here becomes a token. A becomes a token, this becomes a token, this becomes a token. So it's better to use not the text model, but the code embedding model. And Mistral provides you code embedding. So if you just want to work with text, text works. If you want to work with the code, we have to use code here. We'll be focusing on text, but I will show you one example of code because code offers you one more thing which is not there in the text embedding. We'll talk about it. Okay, now how do you work with Mistral? So first of all, we already have Anthropic key. If you want to use Mistral embedding key, and if you don't want to use Mistral, if you want to use OpenAI, that's your choice. But if you want to use Mistral, in that case, you need to log into the console.mistral.ai and you need to create a key. Now at this point when I'm recording this, you have to pay for the model, but also they are running this experimental thing which you can try, and you will see that on this screenshot how it looks like. I can't show you because I've already claimed that experimental part. So what you do is once you choose that, you have to go to API keys and you have to create one key here. I have already done this. I have a key with me. So I've created a new key just for this recording, and I'll be using this key. So you need two keys this time. One is Anthropic and one is Mistral. Okay, so once you have everything set up, let's go down and head to this documentation. So text embedding. So I'm on Mistral because we're going to use Mistral here. Now, if you want to work with the Mistral, this is what you have to do. So you have to, if you want to convert the words into embeddings, you can hit this particular URL. You have to pass your key, and then you have to specify the model. So we are using a model which is Mistral embed. And then you have to pass your input, whatever input you want to pass. But if you want to go to code model, things changes here. You have to change the model name to Mistral embed. And one extra thing it provides is the dimension. So how much dimension you need. Now, why this dimension is important? So if you go up to the text embedding, let's look at the dimension it provides. So when I was plotting this, I was using 2 dimensions. But by default, the embedding model provides you a dimension of 1024 dimensions. That's huge. So the bigger the dimension is, the better you'll be having your plotting done, and it will give a better result. But if you go to code embedding, look at this size for the code embedding. So if I go down, so default is 1536, and maximum you can say the dimension to 3072. It's huge. But also remember, the bigger the dimensions, it will charge you more. But anyway, we got it for free. Maybe if you're watching this after a long time, you may have to pay for it. In that case, you can use some other models. I don't think you will get free embedding models, but if you get, you can change it. So coding embedding actually provides you an option where you can change the dimension of how much you want. And we are going to see this as well. But now the question arises, how will you get this? How will you get these values? Let's see that in the implementation. So let's start the implementation. So the first thing we are going to do is, let's look at the Mistral AI. Now, since we already have our key ready, let's go to Mistral documentation, and initially we'll focus on, let's start with the code embedding here. Now, in the code embedding, if you see the documentation, if you move to the curl, we get different things here. We get the URI, then we get the things which you have to pass in the headers, and then the input data. So let's use this and let's try it out without touching the actual code. So I'm going to open my Insomnia, and here I'm going to send a post request. So if you see, this is a post request, and I just have to use this URI, and then let's click on send. Let's see what happens. Of course, you will get an error. It says unauthorized. Now, this is similar to the OpenAI embedding model as well. If you want to try that out, it will say the key is not set. So basically, if you want to access it, you need to pass the key as well. So for that, I will go to headers, and let's add certain headers here. So let's set the first one, which is the content type. So we'll say content type, and this will be of type application/JSON. I hope I'm not making any spelling mistakes. No, all good. And then we'll add the authorization. So let's set the authorization. We'll start with the bearer, and let's pass our token there. Okay, so I have a token ready with me, which is there on the other screen. I will just copy that and paste it here. So you will get this from the Mistral console. And once you have this, click on send, and let's see what you get now. So at this point, it's not saying unauthorized, because now we are passing the token, and also we have specified everything in the headers. But it says something is missing. The input field is missing. So I have to pass the input as well. And that's what you're going to do in the body. So I will say I'm passing a JSON data. And what are the things you have to pass here? So let's only pass the input here. So I will say input colon, and let's pass the token as, let's say dog, and let's see what you get. So click on send. So we're sending the input, and it says invalid model. So basically you have to also specify which model you're working with. Okay, so here let's specify the model. So I'm going to specify the model colon, and let's specify the model name. Now, which model? So we got 2 models, right? So if you go back here, you can see we got a model which is Mistral embed, and this changes for the text embedding. Okay, so we have specified the model, we have specified the input as well. Let's see if this works, and it works. You can see that we got the embedding. And if you see the size of this, the dimensions, and if you scroll down, it's huge. It's 1536, if you remember that number. So that is the dimension here. Okay, and if you work with the high dimension, of course, you will get a proper output. The example which we took when I was showing you the graph, it was 2-dimensional, but the more dimension you have, it is better. In Mistral, you get one more option, which is the output dimension. So you can set this as well. So let's say if you want only 2, and if you want to create your own graph, the way I did, it's very simple. You just go to this website and you create your own graph, specify the text here equal to and the coordinates. And you will get this when you change the dimension. So let's set the output dimension, and instead of 10, let's set 2. And now with that, if you run this, you will see you will get this value. Okay. Now, why this will not work? Example, for dog, this is the values, and there's a chance that this value will be different from the value which I have. So if you can see, this is minus 0.114, and for dog, it is different. You can see that it is, oh, that's a capital D. Okay, let's try with capital D, maybe. Just want to be sure. Minus 0.12, and it is minus 0.97. Okay, so this is different. Reason, I'm using a different model. So when I was doing this, I was using OpenAI. So OpenAI, they have different embedding models. One is text embedding ARA, or 3 large and 3 small. So there are 3 options there. So I was using that and I created this. Now we are using Mistral. So different embedding model will have different tokenizers or tokenization models inbuilt. There's no compulsion that they should be different, but normally they have, and they work together. So whatever tokenization method you have used should match with the embedding model. Otherwise, it will not work. So if you want to get your own, just take these values and plot your own graph and see if things are making sense. Okay, but I don't want to use the coding one. I want to use the text embedding. So let's go here and let's stick to this particular one. Mistral embed. So paste, and now you will get different thing, I think. Okay, the thing is you can't specify the dimensions in this. That's what it's saying. It's saying this model does not support output dimension. So you have to go with the default one here and run. So this is the embedding here. Okay, perfect. So now we know how do we use this with Mistral or with directly with Insomnia. But let's say if I want to do it with code, how will I do it? So let's get back to our code, and you will get this code in the description as a Git repository. Use that. Okay, so for embedding, I'm going to do that here. So let's create a method which will return the float values, because we have a lot of, so the dimension will be in a float. So it should be float array. And I'm going to set a comment here. I will say this is my endpoint. It's good to have a proper documentation here. Returns embedding for a text. Okay, so get embedding for a text which you're going to pass. And I will say this is request param. And in this, let's write the code. Okay, so giving me default code. How do I get this? So do we have to write a lot of lines of code to achieve this? Not exactly. So what you have is, once you have your Anthropic ready with you, first of all, we can't use Anthropic model because Anthropic doesn't have the embedding model. So we have to get it from the from the Mistral. And for that, we have to add certain things in your pom.xml file. So let's go back here and add one more dependency. So you just have to add this particular dependency here, which is Spring AI starter model Mistral AI. And this will give you the embedding model. So it's resolving the dependency. Done. Let's go back to our code. And now let's use the embedding model. So it's very simple. You simply say embedding model, control space. Okay, and you can see this coming from Spring AI. It's just that it will use Mistral AI. And here, let's say this is auto-wired. Or we could have done that here as well, but that's fine. Let's say auto-wired. And once you have your model ready, let's use that embedding model dot embed. That's it. And in this, you pass a text, it will return you the float value. So if you click on this embed, you can see it returns the float values. That's what we want. Okay, code looks good, but the question is, will it work? Let's try it out. So let's run this and see what is still missing. One thing I know for surely missing is when I was using the Insomnia, when I was hitting this particular URL, we have to pass the key, right? In our code, nowhere we have specified the key. Let's see if that is what it's saying. So it failed to run. Okay, there's a problem. It says required a single bin but found 2. Now this is a problem. So we have to add a qualifier because of chat model. Oh, okay. So since we are using 2 models, one is Mistral, one is Anthropic, for the chat model, but where am I using chat model? Okay, this is commented. I think this client, chat client is using the chat model. Let's see if we can get resolved with the property files. Let's specify the model here. and we'll say Mistral embed. Let's see if I specify this here, will it still get, but it was getting confused with the chat model. Let's restart. Okay, still the same issue. We have to use the qualifier. Do we have to manually create this chat model? The problem is we have to set this anyway, right? So we have to set this chat model specify because we have two chat models. So in this case, this will not work. And that's why we have to go back to the chat model type. So we'll remove this and let's get back to the anthropic chat model. So we'll change this as well. Now we'll be saying we are going back to the chat model. We are specifying anthropic. So this is a workaround. The actual way is you can create a config file in which you can specify whenever it will ask for the chat client, what chat client you have to return. We're just doing the workaround. Okay, so we are specifying the anthropic chat model. And now let's see if this solves the problem. Let's run this. Okay, so that problem is resolved. And now we got a different problem. It says Mistral API key must be set. And that's important. So let's get back here. And now we have to specify the key. Mistral AI key, and the key already have. So let's copy this and paste. And now job done. Let's run this once again. Okay, here we go. Things are working out. It's just that we have not specified the mapping for this. So whenever I ask for the embedding, so this should be, let's say, get mapping. API/embedding, this URL. So let's go back here and get request. It will be http://localhost:/API/embedding. Click on send. Oh, we have not specified the data. So we have to send the text, and the text is, let's say, dog. Click on send, and that's the embedding. Perfect. We can pass a text as well. I love Java. Click on send, and that's the embedding. Perfect. So there's how things are working out. Let's try if we get the same embedding from the Mistral. Remember the first two numbers, minus 0.019. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so that's about embedding, and that's what we have done. That's it from this video. See you in the next part.